Okay, and I just started a stream. Hey guys, welcome to back onto the Buildtopia server. I am today destroying some end cities. I decided to start streaming this because I didn't really have anything else to do, and I thought I could talk to you guys. But the reason I'm destroying these is because I want to try to make a new shop in the end, and I want to be able to sell shulker shells and elytra eventually. I have a ton of elytra, as you know, back at home. I just don't really have a use for them, so they're sitting there. But I've decided to start destroying these so I can actually get some other supplies inside my new build. But it's taking a really long time to get all of this dug out, really. I already destroyed a massive building on that side, and that piece is basically just hanging over a void, so I decided not to do anything to it. But let's not really talk about the end. That we're already going to be watching this for who knows how long. I kind of want to talk about something that interests me. If you have any speculation that you want to share about yourself, you can put it in the chat. I will be checking that every once in a while. It is off to my right. But I wanted to talk about just something that's keeping me busy during this time of just a lot of freedom. I have started watching anime series pretty religiously lately. I used to watch anime series a lot back in the past, but I kind of dwindled off and stopped for a little bit. But now I'm back. I'm actually really glad that I've decided to start watching them again. I st- I basically started off for some smaller titles with SAO, which is basically a show about a bunch of kids that get trapped inside a video game. And that really interested me as a concept, and it just stuck right away. But I think I really like that show though because of how the timeline flowed so smoothly. It took 2 years for one season. They were in there. It was like 2 years and a few months actually afterwards of him trying to find uh, the people. Sorry, I am stumbling a lot. Basically, trying to find other SAO members or okay, sorry. Let me just restart. He wasn't trying to find them. A lot of them were basically hospitalized because they couldn't really help themselves out in the real world. It was a virtual reality game. And there was just a bunch of people who actually didn't wake up after they beat the game. And he found his girlfriend that he made in the game and uh, she was one of them that didn't get out. And the reason I liked the timeline so much was because instead of like showing his whole story, they showed basically the important parts without getting too much into detail. They skipped over a bunch of stuff that I feel like could have been shown in like an off series or still can be shown. And I just loved how they did it. There were a ton of small story arcs like this there were these okay, so basically I have to explain the background of the story. They uh, Virtual reality was a new thing that was going actually, or not really virtual reality. It was like a full dive is what they called it. And what would happen is it sent your brain signal. It sent the instructions basically directly into your brain signals. So shutting the rest of your body down and making you fully immersed inside the content. And what that did was allowed you to feel like you were literally in the world instead of just behind a set of VR goggles. And because that was such a huge thing, this MMO game came out that was centered around it, and the creator decided to trap all of the players inside the game. because we didn't really figure out why he did it. In the end, when the main character asked, he basically said he forgot. But he ended up trapping them all in the game. And if they pulled the headsets off in the real world, which I mean they couldn't physically do because they were technically paralyzed from the headsets, but if someone pulled them off or like they lost internet connection quite literally, it would have sent an electric signal to their brain or a microwave that killed them. And also, if they died in the game, they would also die in the real world. So you couldn't really leave. That's how they were trapped in there. It wasn't like a spider grabbed the thing turned into a spider and it grabbed their head or anything. It was literally out of pure fear, and basically they couldn't do anything about it. And because that was because they would die if they left or if they died in game. Basically, they would they there were these sorry there were basically these people inside the game that liked to kill people for fun, and when they killed them, they would die in the real world, and they fully knew that it would happen. So basically, he had to catch one of them, and yes, I am getting to my point of why I like the stories, the timeline, I mean. But basically, he wanted to catch these criminals, and he, in the beginning of this episode, he met up with this girl. He basically saved this girl from there was a little girl. I don't know how old she was, probably around 12. But the main character saved her from a monster that was out in one of the forests. Um, but in the end, it all seemed like he was basically just trying to help get her pet back. But they figured out that he was actually tracking one of those killers in the game, and basically using that girl as bait almost, but not in a cruel way at all. Um, in the end, he ended up capturing them, and it all turned out pretty well. I would highly recommend this series. I'm not going to spoil a lot of the plot line because it was. I mean, a lot of people say it's not that good of a series, but in my opinion, I really liked it. And a new season came out this year. Okay, so there were 2 seasons that they made, and they came out in like I think it was 2011 and 2015. And then this third season came out this year, and it was a completely different spin on what the story already was almost. They they weren't inside a video. Well, I guess they were, but okay, I'm not gonna spoil anything past that. I'm gonna kind of move on to another show that I started watching, that I can't wait to see the next season of. I watched it a long time ago. I think this was one of the shows that I like started watching a while ago before I became uninterested in it, or I'm coming back to it now, I guess. It's called Attack on Titan, and it's basically about the I don't know what time frame it's in, but steampunk era, I guess. They went a steampunk version of our world. They're kind of trapped on this island, um, and there are these giants ravaging the land, and they basically built these rigs that would strap to themselves, and basically it would go and they would be able to grapple onto building. Oh shoot! They would be able to grapple onto buildings around them and basically swing on them and be able to go around the giants and to be able to hit their only weakness spot, which is on the back of their neck. And these giants don't feel pain. They're not really lifelike at all either. It's just weird how they acted in the first seasons and such. But we ended up finding out in the second or third season, I think it was, that they were actually humans. that had been transformed from a serum, I think. Yeah, just a serum. It wasn't like a potion. It's not a magic show. But maybe no, it's not magic. But basically, what they would do, they found out that, or at least the main character found out that he had been killing these what had been humans at one point in time, and he basically became so sad about, or not sad, but scared of himself because of all the killing he had technically done. But it wasn't really two humans. I mean, I don't know. I don't think they said there was a way to be able to turn them back. I can't even really remember what the story arc ended off at because it was such a long time ago that I had watched it. But what I remember happening was, let's see, what happened was they figured it out. They found an object that they had been looking for this whole time. Wait, where did I leave that? Did I leave that? I think I left another shulker box up there. But they found an object that they had been searching for throughout the show. I can't remember the cliffhanger, but I remember being so mad that there wasn't a new season out already. And then I found out that there was another season coming out this year, and I was just amazed and happy, really. Um, let's see. I'm not going to spoil that series too much either, other than there being giants and the amazing systems that the creators of that show designed for being able to uh, basically walk around these giants. Let's see. What's another show? I'm watching a show called Full Metal Alchemist, and it's basically a I would okay, how I would describe it is a scientific slash Japanese version of basically, okay, what's it called? The Last Airbender. Yes, the Avatar, The Last Airbender. That show. It was basically a really good spin on that show. But let's see, what has happened? Basically, the government ended up turning out to be corrupt, and I really loved that aspect of it. I don't know what I don't know if I'm being interesting or not. I hope I am. I'm trying to focus on talking to you guys and do this at the same time. It's a lot harder than I thought it'd be at first, to tell you the truth. And there's also a lot of intimate here, so I don't want to basically aggro them. But okay, let's see. What was I talking about? Ooh, I was talking about that show, The Full Metal Alchemist. Yes. Um, The Full Metal Alchemist. I just started watching, and I think it's a really interesting concept. Basically, it's based in a what is it? It's they have I guess modern, uh, maybe 19 something modern. I don't know. It's really cool show. It's not they don't describe anything in it as magic, but more science, as to where the characters are able to take substances or materials and be able to transform them into other substances or shapes of themselves. One example being at one point in time that he turned the iron inside a big pool of blood into a weapon. And that's just one instant that came off the top of my head. The show isn't actually that gory. It's a really good show that I would what would I would it's a good show so far that I've seen. I accidentally watched it out of order. And there's two different parts to it, and I accidentally watched the second part first. But since there were two different parts, they made it to where you really didn't have to watch the first part. Even though I really wish I would, it would have cleared up a few things and just made the storyline a bit better. Ooh, watch out, Enderman. I'm gonna check the chat real quick. Is there anything going on? Oh, did I just look at someone? Okay, good. But, no, I do not see any chats in there that I have missed, or at least have been said at all. But the Brother, Alchemist, or Full Metal Alchemist, it's a really interesting show. It's about a hot-tempered boy who basically gets mad every single time someone says he's short, which he is, and his brother, which had died, and he's sealed inside a set of armor. And I thought that was a really interesting concept. I mean, I bet stuff has been done so much like that in the past. I mean, like it's stuff in Harry Potter where you can seal souls into stuff, but just because it's not really a show about magic, it's a show about science to where basically they have this thing called principle of exchange, and you need to be able to exchange a one-to-one ratio of that exact object. So if you want to make a sword, you're gonna need like iron to be able to make that sword, but you can still transform it into a sword shape. Same thing goes with people, which is basically a lot of the main plot of the show. You need to be able to use, like, okay, so in one point of the show, he listed off ingredients of what basically the human body is comprised of, and it was like 60. He would basically list off like 60 liters of water. These aren't going to be right measurements. I'm just doing stuff. Like 2 ounces of zinc, 457 ounces of iron for the blood or something. And he was basically trying to bring his mom back to life. And that's what got his brother killed and forced him to basically seal his soul in the armor. And then later in the series, you find out that their whole government is almost corrupt, and it hasn't really dawned on most of them. And then all of a sudden, all of them know about it, but well, not all. I mean, a lot of the main characters find out about this stuff, and they're really scared, not of leaving their government per se, but more of just because the fact that they don't want their government to come after them. Now, saying that, I mean, I completely understand it, but I feel like a few things could have. Is that in the. Yeah, I looked at someone, didn't I? I have no idea. Whatever. But, so what was I saying? Oh, I did look at someone. Oh yeah, bows can't work. Oh, whoa, no, that was a juke if I've ever seen one. Oh. I'm not going to die to you today. Okay? Where are you? I don't even know where you went. There we go. And that is why I'm happy for my armor. So, I was talking about the government. Basically, their government ended up being corrupt, and it's not that they aren't able to basically say that it's corrupt and convince everybody. The problem is because the people who have corrupted the government are just too powerful, really. There are these things called homunculuses, which are basically non-humanoid humanoid figures, I guess. That's really the best way I can describe them. It's a human that doesn't not doesn't have a soul, but doesn't isn't okay. It's a humanoid form that's not human. You can make a homunculus out of animals. You can make a homunculus out of uh, ob. Was it or not? I guess objects is the right word. Being having like ingredients as objects. But oh, did I break? Okay, good. I didn't break it. I need to be weary of that to not break this. But also homunculuses. I hope I'm saying the name wrong and not just brooding the show, and the people who have watched this are gonna get mad at me. But the homunculuses are basically really hard to make, and average people can't do it. So the powerful guys in the government have been able to make all these homunculus, or at least this one guy has, and he was able to make all these homunculuses, and he he basically just controlled the government. I need to move on to another end city. So should I go west? Which way did I come? I came from that direction. So time to go this way. Okay. And I already got all the stuff I need from there. But I don't know. I guess not really. It's an interesting concept as being. I just like how the show is really. Now let's see. I'm gonna move on to another anime, one that's more mainstream. It's called One Punch Man. I don't think I know that not everyone has seen it in the world, but I would actually highly recommend people watch it. It's not like an anime as an anime usually is, to where the like as at least as people see them as, to where they're always fighting and stuff. There is fighting in there, but it's more of a comedy show than anything. There's a lot of jokes in there, and also the main character doesn't really have a personality for most of the time, so it's just funny being like people interacting with him. And if you haven't heard of One Punch Man before, then I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it. Just get out from under that rock you're living in. I know there's COVID and everybody's stuck indoors, but we've got the internet. You should have heard of them from some source. But if you don't, One Punch Man is basically about this guy who really the audience doesn't know how he got these powers, but he claims to have gotten them from basically doing an average routine workout. And I just ran out of firework rockets without realizing it. But he claims to have gotten these incredible powers from basically an average-esque workout, which was like a 1 mile run every day, not turning on the heat and cold inside your house or something like that. And no one believes him, even though that's what he says happened. No, like definitely, like no one can really change his mind about it. But that's what he says is happening, and he's able to destroy any enemy with virtually one hit. And to the audience, he is called One Punch Man. But in the show, he's not really a famous hero because other heroes take credit for him. And what ends up happening actually is that people don't even really recognize him as a superhero partway through the first season. And he's just destroying these monsters that would literally take out whole cities in one punch. And he's acting like it's no big deal. Someone else takes the cover for it. Everybody just calls him Saitama, or literally his hero name is called the Balded. What is it? It's the caped Baldy is, I think, his actual hero name, which I think is hilarious. And then there's this like very small secluded group of people that know how powerful he is. One of them being the guy that actually took a lot of the credit, and his name is King. Well, his hero name at least is King, and he just got a scar from a small monster across his face that makes him look really evil, and he ends up being in the vicinity of every monster that Saitama has killed. And so King has just gotten all the credit, and he has no powers, and he has just been taking all the credit. I've said that way too many times. Sorry, my throat's clenching up. But it's just because I'm laughing. But what ends up happening, he goes into the hero business not really caring about any of it, and he starts caring about wanting people to notice him, and that kind of changes his outlook of how he's being a hero. To stay in the hero league of their world, he literally has to make a deadline of finding villains every week, or at least criminals. And he doesn't like that view in the end, and he realizes that a lot of people who should have, or at least in one episode, virtually everyone would have found out about how good of a superhero he was, but because of how many heroes died before him, and how the people were treating those heroes as weak because they weren't able to defeat them, and how they died, Saitama saw that and was like, no, he basically didn't say this out loud, but he basically told them, I just took the credit. He said out loud, literally, ha, you guys all saw what I did. Now go spread the word that I killed him. And then he like whispered, but loudly so everybody could hear him under his breath, that, those other heroes sure did weaken him up for me. And in that moment, you realize that he wasn't in it for the glory. He's basically just in it so that he can be a literal good hero. And at least he's in the Hero League, so he gets a few of the perks of the Hero League, but not for money like a lot of the people do, or fame, but more so he can be more on the know of the monsters that are coming through. Give me 1 second. Another guy over here. But eventually Saitama, after he basically not gave up, but realized that he wasn't in this for the, where is that coming from? I don't know. But after he realized that he wasn't doing this for the fame or the money, he went back to his moral lifestyle of not caring what people thought about him, and being able to basically kill the monsters without any basically disrespect, or is disrespect the right word? Okay, how do I say this? He was basically able to go and kill them without having to get a bad rap from everybody, or at least not care about what they said about him. How that hurt, I need to eat. But I really like this show. The story arcs there are really good. There have been a lot of good stuff said on it, and again, it is a comedy, so don't expect to get a purely action show or something like that. Even though it is good for the action, I like watching it for the comedy mainly. But oh shoot, I'm going upwards. Nope. Nope. I don't have any Interpearls either. But so what was I saying? I watch it for the comedy. I would suggest that you guys watch it. Um, I mean, you might not have started watching anime before, but that's actually a really good anime to start on. I mean, it's really light. It doesn't do too many big concepts that a lot of animes do. It will get you prepared if you actually ever want to get into anime for real. And that's really why I would recommend a good story arc, a ability to keep you entertained, and basically able to throw in a few laughs and not be serious the whole time. I mean, a lot of animes do that, but this is more of a comedy show than a action show. I have to clear this out before I can destroy this city, so I'm trying to focus on that. But let's see. Another show that I would suggest in anime, I would say, let's see. I've talked about One Punch Man, I've talked about SAO, and what else have I talked about? I talked about the show that I'm watching right now. What's another good show that I would recommend? I've talked about Attack on Titan. There's so many that I've watched, but why can't I think of the names right now? I guess I could talk about Sword Arts Online's. No, I don't want to talk about that. That's not. I don't really like that show. Oh, Haiku. Is that how you pronounce it? I think it's Haiku. It's something along those lines. I'm pretty sure it is Haiku. But it's this anime that's about volleyball. And it's really well put together. It's not what you'd expect if you hear anime about volleyball. It's really good, I would say, actually. The story arcs are good. They basically are from a school that no one believes in, or no one believes. I guess kind of, but the school isn't really well known for their sports. If that's that, yeah, that's how I'll put it. But the school isn't really well known for their sports, and this they used to be a really big. Where did I see that guy? But haiku, or shoot, I don't know how to pronounce it really. I don't have it in front of me either, so I can't like read out the syllables or anything. But open up, open up. There we go. But as I was saying, haiku is about this volleyball player who basically believes in himself too much, I would say. But he's also really good. It's not like arrogant belief where he's not going to get better or anything. It's like belief in himself that's a good belief because he believes in himself and it gives him the opportunity to not be put down by what people say, really. And oh, how is there a shulker here? There's never a shulker here. But the character is a really all-around well put together. I mean, he has a really happy attitude, but he's not happy all the time. He has motivation and devotion towards his teammates. It's really good how it's really well how they played their characters in this show. I love the protagonists, I guess, are the other teams, but also his best friend was one of his protagonists in that they used to be huge rivals in middle school. And the main character knew almost nothing about volleyball. He was, I wouldn't say horrible, but his school didn't have a volleyball team. And they basically, he didn't have any way to practice, even though he had great skills and was able to learn really fast on this sport. He had no way to practice and no way to really get better as fast as he wanted to. He would take any chance that he could with his friends, his basketball playing friends at least, that would throw the ball up for him every once in a while so he could practice spiking it and or serving it. And he also didn't focus on all of the key things that he probably should have focused on. He focused more on basically just his spiking because he believed that's all that he could do. He wanted to be, what was it called? It was center, I think is, no, it's not center. It's not center. It's a left spiker, I think was the name. But that show was really good, and they're supposed to come out with a second season, I think it is, or third, I can't really remember. But I can't wait to see how it turns out. I think what ended up happening or left us as a cliffhanger at this previous season was they had basically just gotten into the finals or into the preliminary rounds, and they're shooting for world or national, I can't remember what it was, but it was a really good. I looked at it at first glance and I blew it off. I literally didn't watch it the first time I saw it. I saw it again and again and I didn't watch it. All of a sudden, my brother actually watched it, and I saw him watching one of the episodes, and I was like, "Wow, this is a really good concept." I wish I'd actually started watching it when I first saw it. There are some episodes that are pretty slow, I will admit that. But overall, it's just a great show to watch. Great show to be able to sit in front of. There are a lot of episodes that you have to pay attention to. I even had to skip back a few times to see stuff again because I either didn't understand it or I just wanted to see it again because it was such a good moment. There was a moment that was the first season, I think episode 3, where he basically did the unknown in where he took a ball that the center had set up for him, is what it's called, basically passed it to him, set it up for a spike, and he hit the shot with his eyes closed. And as I was saying earlier, how his best friend was at one point the protagonist, he, being the protagonist, wasn't really because he was his enemy. It was mainly because it was a big rivalry between them, and he was a really good player. But even though he was such a good player, he didn't treat anyone as equals. Not really, at all. And because that happened, the people he played with didn't want to play with him anymore. All of the players that got on this great team basically said they didn't want him on the team, so he didn't get accepted into this school that he wanted to go into. And that's how he ended up getting stuck with the main character, which was basically someone who had a lot of potential but no actual skill. Or he had a lot of skill, but it was pretty sloppy in the first few episodes. But the potential you could automatically see was just revolutionary in his predicament. Is that what I'd say? I would really recommend watching that show. It's on my top 20 anime shows that I've watched, I would definitely say. I loved it as a show. And there has been a lot of good stuff that people have said about it. I am sorry if I'm not pronouncing the name again. I think it's called Haiku or it's Hai something. You could probably find it if you Googled volleyball anime, if you wanted to watch it. I am so sorry. I'm going to have to pause for a second because I need to get a water. It's literally just right there. I'll be back in like 2 seconds. Okay, I'm back, and let me just quench my thirst. Mm. That already feels a lot better, being able to talk. But now, after recommending that one, which one should I talk about now? I mean, I could probably go back real quick and check my watch history. I don't think you guys would want me to do that because you'd get bored of me being gone for a minute or two. But, okay, I'll talk about a show that I tried starting recently and didn't really like. I mean, it's a cool concept, but they didn't do it very well. Oh shoot, is my voice giving out? Does it sound like it is? Kind of sounds like it is to me. But as I was talking, I started watching this show called Ingress. I think I'm 98% sure it's called Ingress. And what it is about is basically these people that have been exposed to this, not dark matter, that's not what they call it. I can't remember what they call it. It's not like antimatter or anything like that. It's this substance, though, not really of. Okay, if I say it like that, it's not gonna sound. It's not gonna sound like I want it to sound, but it's not. Oh, how do I keep dropping this? But it's not of. I guess it is of this world. Basically, it's energy that's around the world. Okay, let me start off by saying that either there's a video game based off of this show, or this show is based off of a video game, and either way, they did not do it well. I mean, I tried watching it. I watched all the way into the fifth episode trying to see if it would catch on, and it really never did. I was expecting something out of it, and I'm kind of sad that it left me empty-handed. And basically, it was just about the show. People had superpowers. They were able to basically see. This one guy was able to use his powers to be able to not see the future, but almost. How do I explain this? See how something's gonna end up, I guess, was his power. And then there was also where where another superhero was able to see the past or memories or the past of an object he touched. And I don't know. I'm probably not explaining it that well, but still, I don't think it was a good show. If you want to go watch it and try it for yourself, it's called Ingress. Ingress. I think there's two S's. I again, I wouldn't really want to finish watching it. I tried watching it, but the reason the one of the reasons why it caught me off guard was I was watching the first episode, and you know how if you've ever watched an anime, you know that animes have songs that play during the beginning, and then they also have songs that play in the end. The song that ended up playing in the credits of the episodes was a song that I used to listen to all the time by this band called Alt J. And I just really like I the song came on and it was like, wait, I've heard this song before. What? No, this an anime is playing a song that I've listened to. It's not just a made up song. It's literally a song. If you don't understand what I mean, anime shows make songs for their shows, or a lot of them make songs for their shows. I don't know if all of them do. I know that not all of them do it because this show didn't do it. But it was called In Cold Blood by Alt J, and okay, I'm gonna attempt singing it. So, or I'm gonna just sing the first part. Oh shoot! I just looked straight at him. I don't know why I did it. No, but just get ready for some horrible singing. It's like 0 1 1 1 0 0 1 1 crying zeros tonight, seeing ones or and then it's not just about like zeros and ones. There's actually some pretty good lyrics in there too, but it's it's just it caught me by surprise, and I haven't seen an anime that had played a song that I had already heard before. But again, I really didn't stick to the anime. I don't know why. It just didn't interest me. But I mean, again, you could go try it for yourself, or you could listen to the song if you wanted to. In Cold Blood by Alt J. Let's see. I need to get off this topic because I've been talking about it for a while. Or not topic, but show. Let's see. What is an... Okay. I do not want to die from that Enderman. I'll be right over here for a second, just to unload him. Okay, that should be good enough. But let's see. Another anime that I watched. Ooh, that was a good show. This is a show that I think it was a kid show when it first came out, but it's just a really well put together show that I loved watching it. It's called Gurren Lagann, and it's based on this. The first season starts out in this basically the two of the main characters are underground, trapped in this underground place, and the main character is a miner, and he basically has a small drill that he hand cranks. They hand crank it, and basically he's going around and he's finding these treasures, he says, but also it's so that their community can have bigger living quarters, almost. And he finds this basically ship, or what is it, a ship? It's like this robot underground, and he put a key into it that he had found previously, and so he didn't put the key into it immediately, but he ended up putting the key into it because a bigger version of it crashed through the ceiling and of the underground domed area that they were trapped in. And so he had to kind of like fight it off. But so the first season kind of took this path of how they have to fight off this Spiral King, is what they called him. And it was basically just about how the Spiral King didn't want to have them in the life, or didn't want them to succeed. To basically, I need to change out my pickaxe too. He didn't want them to succeed in basically coming to the surface, and really we didn't know why in the first instances. But second season rolled around, and we find out that basically the Spiral King was a he was a he wasn't really a king. He was okay. I'm sorry. I'm stuttering a lot right here. But he was basically keeping them underground because if the life on the planet reached 10 million, or it was 1 million, somewhere around there, then the moon, they had this prophecy that the moon would basically come and destroy them, destroy all the life on Earth. Excuse me. But how do I explain this? They ended up defeating the king, and it was pretty good show. It was a pretty good, sorry, not show, episode in which they defeated the Spiral King, of what they called him. And they found out that spiral energy is basically the building blocks of life, being in the double helix, and just everything revolves around spiral energy, and how evolution is a key thing that happens with users of spiral energy. Now, people that don't have spiral energy basically can't evolve, don't really have the powers that, or the abilities. Ouch. I literally just said I need to change that, but I decided to talk about the show rather than replace it, and I completely forgot. But as I was saying, what was I saying? The Spiral King was keeping them underground because there was this force called the anti-spiral, and what they wanted to do was not let life exist, because if life existed, then basically it would destroy the universe. And the spiral, it wasn't just because they said it would happen, or they said they would destroy the universe, but literally the universe would have been destroyed if there was too much spiral energy. There would be too much. The universe basically is supposed to grow dependent on how much spiral energy was in the universe. And so more spiral energy would make it, I don't know how they explained it, but it would have destroyed itself. The universe would have destroyed itself. And because that happened, the main protagonists, the anti-spiral, basically didn't want life to thrive so that the universe could be saved. And then the spiral forces basically wanted to be able to live and populate, even though both of them knew that the universe would be destroyed if it happened in the end, or at least there was a high probability that it would happen. But in the show, there was a big thing about how probabilities didn't really matter to them, because probabilities were basically able to beat probabilities all the time throughout the show, and be able to just win their way through it without giving up. I would basically give that show, I'd say, a 7 out of 10. I liked it a lot. It's not my favorite. I'd say it's in my top 100 shows that I've watched, but it's not my top 20. And I say top 20 because there are about 20 really good shows that I can't really order for you. Even if I wanted to, I couldn't place them in order. But okay, so what was I saying? I rated it a 7 out of 10, and Would I watch it again? I would probably watch it again if there was enough time. If enough time had passed, and if I didn't have that much going on. But I liked watching it. I'm glad I watched it for the first time. It had an intriguing story, and they killed off a few of their characters unexpectedly, like in a really good way too. Like there was no chance to bring them back either, and it just basically broke all the characters' hearts because the guy who died, was a big part in their lives. And then a second person died later on, but it didn't do that much of an impact to the. I mean, his death was a big, big thing. I'm not going to spoil who it was that died because it would ruin a very good arc in the show if I did. But I would definitely recommend people watch that show. Now let's see. I don't want to talk about a bunch of mainstream animes that I've watched because I know stuff like, well, I guess you can't call that an anime. Hmm. I want to see how long my stream has been going on. I haven't checked it in a while. Let's see. I have been streaming for 56 minutes. Pretty good. I see a viewer pop on here every once in a while. I'm glad about it. But let's see, what was I talking about? Animes. Let's see. Another anime that I really liked watching. I don't know which one I should talk about next. I think I'm going to end the stream at an hour mark, around about 4 minutes from now. I think it's an hour. Yeah, around about 4 minutes from now, and I might get back on later tonight, but there's no guarantees. I'm getting a little tired of talking this whole time, and I can already feel my throat like just giving out on itself. Also, it's a Sunday night, so there aren't going to be that many people jumping on here and watching. I mean, they might watch it after I've logged it or put it in its archive, as some YouTubers have said. But I can literally hear my voice going out, so I don't think it would be good for me to keep talking for forever. I mean, if I was a bigger YouTuber, I could probably get away with not talking so much. And even if I had someone else on here who would talk with me, I wouldn't have to talk as much, and my voice would have been fine. But the people that I usually play with aren't really available right now, and I'm not saying there's anything bad with that. I'm glad that they're doing other stuff in their life. I'm just telling you the reason why I can't stay on for really more than an hour. This was one of the first times that I've ever streamed for this long of a time, quite literally, without stopping my conversation. And I'm really glad about how it turned out, but my throat is getting so sore right now. Just constant talking does a number on you. I'm also running out of shows that I was going to talk about. I talked about Attack on Titan. I talked about SAO. I talked about, which is Sword Art Online. I talked about Haiku, or whatever that one is called, about the volleyball. I talked about Gurren Lagann. I talked about Ingress, which I didn't really like. And was that it? Was that it? I think that's. Oh yeah, and I talked about Full Metal Alchemist, which I am watching right now. I'm sorry if I didn't do that well at explaining it. Again, this is my first time talking for such a long time just about my preferences, or especially without someone else to talk to. So I hope that this went well. I think I'm going to finish this little stair section and then get off. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. What are we at right now? Yeah, 59. I'm literally crossing over into the hour right now. But I had a lot of fun with this. If you guys have any suggestions of what I should do, I can't wait. For future plans in my videos, I am planning again to build a 100% all item sorting system other than stackable items. I am planning to make every farm that I can conceive. And I really cannot wait to see how this season turns out. This was a lot of fun to stream, and I'm gonna have to say goodbye, not just because this Enderman is chasing me, but also because my voice box will probably just drop out if I keep running it as much as I am. So I am glad that you guys jumped on and watched me for a little bit. If you want to go back, I am going to put this on my channel. And yeah, I had a lot of fun talking and just learning how to do this better next time. Next time I know that I need to have a water by me at all times, or else I am going to die. But yeah, so I'm going to say goodbye, get off, and probably stop saying goodbye. Have a wonderful day, guys.